went looking for trouble. And boy, I found her. She's in love with herself. She likes the dark. Grey Wolf Studios.
Okay, let's talk about series and parallel connections for a minute. It is possible to actually run more than one battery um, at the same time. If you notice on some of my batteries, you see I have Velcro on them, on at least one side of them. And typically, see this one, this little 2 cell here has Velcro on top of it. And that's typically so I can wire them up in either series or parallel and stack them on top of another battery, strap both batteries down to in the battery tray, and then I can hook both of them up. Like for instance, if I say I'm gonna take my Losi LST2 electric converted monster truck out to play with it. Well, it's set up to run on 6S. I only own 2 actual 6S packs, but I also own 3 4S packs, I own 3 2S packs, and I own 2 3S packs. So basically what I can do is I can run a 4 cell and a 2 cell together in series to combine the voltage, and essentially it's the same. It put a 4 cell and a 2 cell ran in series would be the same as running a single 6 cell. Puts out the same amount of voltage. Now bear in mind, in order to run a pair of batteries in series or parallel, they need to be a matched set of batteries. Like if I wanted to run if I wanted to run my 6S monster truck and I wanted to use a 4S and a 2S to do it, then I would need a 4S. I have this 4S Genzace 5300 30C soft pack here. I would need a like 2 cell battery. So I would need a Genzace 2 cell 5300 milliamp 30C soft pack, which I just happen to have right here. So I could hook both of these up, and that's why I have the Velcro on them, because typically the 4 cell will sit like this, and the 2 cell I'll sit right on top of it, Velcroed together with industrial strength Velcro, and it basically it's you almost can't get the stuff apart. I mean, you have to really try to get it apart to get industrial strength Velcro apart. But anyway, you can do that. Now, if you run them in series, you combine the voltages, but the MAH value or the capacity of the 2 pack stays the same. Now, you can also run 2 like batteries in series to combine the MAH value but keep the voltage the same. Now, if you're doing that, you're going to want to use 2 identical packs in terms of the number of cells and the MAH value, and basically all the specs need to be the same. It needs to be the same brand, the same voltage packs, same capacity or MAH rating, and the same C rating. You really want to try to keep it running parallel to match packs. But let's say I had 2 of these. Well, in fact, I do have 2 of these Genzace 5000 milliamp 2 cell packs. If I had enough space in one of my kits to run, to put 2 of these, but let's say um, my kit could only handle a 2S maximum or 3S maximum. Well, I can't run two cells together in series, because that would be like running a 4 cell in it. Can't handle that. It's too much voltage. But if I had the room and weight wasn't an issue, I could run two cells in parallel, which would essentially double the capacity or the mAh rating, but leave the voltage the same. So it would essentially be like running one 10,000 milliamp 2S pack. And I have a video on how to make a series connector. I've never really run into a situation where I wanted to run anything in parallel, but if you ever did run into that situation, I'm sure there's other videos out on the internet that can teach you how to make a parallel connector. It's very easy to do. Making a series connector is very easy to do as well. Let's see, what else do we need to talk about? We need to talk about LiPo damage. Now, if you look at this pack, let me zoom in here so you can hopefully get a close look at it. I don't know if you can tell in this video, but the top of this pack, it's harder to see in a hard pack. The top of this pack is actually puffed out. It's not nice and flat like these are. These are nice and flat. The top of this is rounded, or what they call puffed. And I don't know if you can see this on the side, but the pack is actually indented here on the side in the middle because the cells in there have expanded and they're trying to push the two plastic halves of the case apart. But this is a puffed pack and is no longer good. Once a pack puffs, or it gets punctured, then the pack's done and it's no longer any good. Now I'll be sending this back for a warranty replacement because I have less than 5 or 7 charges on this particular pack. Definitely less than 10 charges on this pack. So I think there was something wrong with this pack which caused it to puff. But regardless, once they're puffed, they're done. Or once they're punctured, they're done. If you get one that goes bad like that and it's not under warranty anymore, then you need to dispose of it and immediately stop using it as soon as you notice that it's puffed or punctured. Because if you don't, they can actually, if they get damaged enough or overcharged too much, they can actually burst into flames, and they are quite nasty when they do. If you've never done so before, go look up LiPo fire on YouTube, and you can check out some pretty massive fires that can spring up from these things. Now, it does take a lot of abuse before they actually, burn, erupt into flame. But it's definitely something that you don't want to have happen to you. So now, once you've seen that your pack is puffed, the first thing I would do is I would stick it in a LiPo charging bag, and I'll cover LiPo charging bags here in a minute. I would stick it in a LiPo charging bag, and then I would stick it in something that's fireproof. I like to use empty ammo cans. I have a couple empty ammo cans that I use for those for LiPo purposes. I would stick it in a LiPo pack and then stick it inside of an ammo can and then set it outside somewhere way away from anything that can catch fire. And I would leave it for a couple of days. Now, don't leave it in the direct sunlight. Leave it somewhere that's not going to be exposed to too much heat. But definitely somewhere that if it does happen to catch fire, the smoke and the smell and the fire itself doesn't damage your property or your house, your garage, or whatever. A lot of times, what I'll do if I'm in that situation is I'll take an ammo can and I'll fill it about half full of sand, and then I'll take the puffed pack that's inside of a LiPo charging sack, stick it in the ammo can, and then fill the ammo can the rest of the way in with sand. And then I'll set it outside somewhere, a good 20 feet or so from anything that can catch fire. And then, if I have a choice, I try to set it somewhere where I can set something on top of it to help shade it or whatever. But, maybe cover it with a bucket or something to that extent. Once it's sat there for a day or two and it hasn't caught fire, then it's pretty much safe to store, because it's not going to catch fire unless you do something to further damage the battery. If it doesn't catch fire within the first day or so, it's not going to, unless you do something to make it do so. If you try to use it again or charge it again, discharge it, if whatever, then it might catch fire if you're messing with it again. But other than that, just like this one, this one sat for a couple of days without catching fire, so it's been sitting on my shelf for, like, I don't know, probably 5 days now. I've just been too lazy to send it back. What you need to know, on top of everything that I just said, is how to actually dispose of them if they're not under warranty, or if sending them back in is not required for a warranty replacement. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to fill up a jug or a bucket of some kind. I usually use an empty milk jug that I've cut the top off of. I cut just enough of the top where I leave the handle intact, but there's a big enough hole where I can drop, I could drop a 6-cell LiPo into it if I had to. And I fill it up about 2/3 of the way with water, and then about a half a cup of salt, just regular old salt. It can be sea salt, it can be iodine, iodine salt, Morton salt, whatever. Any kind of salt, about half a cup per gallon of water is plenty. I cut the connectors off and stick it in the wire. Now, when you cut the connectors off, be sure they don't really touch each other. I usually like the balance connector. I'll cut each one of these wires on the balance connector 3 different lengths. I might cut the red one up here, and then the second one I might cut about halfway down, and then the third one I might cut like almost toward the bottom. That way they can't touch each other. Same thing with the big power cords, or the big power cables. Cut one of them way up top and one of them down toward the bottom. That way they won't touch each other. Because let me tell you something, shorting out a LiPo not only can catch it on fire, but it creates one hell of an arc. it will, it'll scare the piss out of you if you're not expecting it, like you accidentally short it out or whatever. Especially the bigger batteries like the 4, 5, and 6S packs, they're like, holy crap. I remember one of the very first times I worked with a LiPo, I took a pair of, I got the LiPo in the mail. I think it was a 4S pack, a hard case 4S pack. I got the LiPo in the mail. It came with a different connector than a Dean's. So I went and grabbed my dikes, or my wire cutters, whatever you like to call them, and I went to just cut off the end. Well, needless to say, once I got through the installation of both the red and the black wires, the metal from the dikes caused it to short out. And now fortunately, it didn't hurt the battery or anything, but it actually did burn a chunk out of the blades of the dikes and basically just rendered them useless, destroyed them. I had to go buy new dikes. That's how powerful. Then that was just a 4S pack. I couldn't even imagine a 6 or higher cell pack. It's just a massive amount of energy that these things contain. They're actually quite amazing in that regard. Let's see. So that's how to dispose of a lipo. Oh, once you stick it in the water, you want to leave it there for about 48 to 72 hours, 2 or 3 days. I usually leave them in there, and then I take the jug outside. Um, the water's going to have all kinds of crap in it at that point. Um, or it can, depends on, if I was thinking of the last one I did was punctured. And a lot of the crap from the cell came out into the water. It was all yucky. But anyway, at that point, it's safe to drain off the water somewhere where it's not gonna hurt. Say hello to one of my friends that's texting me. Uh, anyway, drain off the water somewhere where it's not gonna hurt anything, and then you can, at that point you can throw. At that point, the chemicals inside of the battery will be neutralized, and you can just throw it in the trash at that point without any fear of it. It will, it'll no longer be in a state that it can swell and burst into flames.